Good afternoon, everyone. This is Blue Table Talk. I'm your host, Deborah Jones, along with my co-host, Toya Ozan. And tonight really this week, I'm going to host at least some of the candidates who are in the election for the city councilman, mayor, and school board, whatever. We're going to do all of it, not all of it, most of it this week and next week we're trying to get them in before early election. Now, speaking of early election, before I introduce my guest, speaking of early election is April the 24th through May the 2nd. And the polls will be the Rogers Park Community Center, Jefferson County Courthouse, the main lobby as usual, John Paul Davis Community Center on Lucas Drive, and Theodore John on Fournette Road. So that's the location for early voting. Now, main vote, we'll talk about that later. Now, the election itself is May 6th, and that's from 7 to 7. So, go ahead and you should be already registered to vote. So we get all these votes in, whether they're mail-in or in-person votes. Go ahead and do what you need to do so you can vote. Okay, April the 24th, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. through 5 p.m. That's when the doors were open on that's the 24th through the 28th. April the 29th, which is a Saturday, 8 o'clock to 5. April the 30th, which is a Sunday, 12 o'clock noon to 5 p.m. That's for the poll, from the pew to the polls. And from May the 1st through the 2nd, Monday and Tuesday, 7 o'clock a.m. to 7 o'clock p.m. So we need to get out here and vote. This is a crucial election. We're voting for our mayor. We're voting for city councilmen at large. We're voting for a school district. We're voting for the school district. So let's get out here and let's vote. Now, with all that being said, tonight we have I can't say what I was going to say. I almost said it. But tonight we have Biguita Hernandez-Smith, who is running for city councilman at large. Hi, Biguita. How you doing tonight?
Hi, I'm good. Very excited. Thank you so much for being flexible. Because we have the schedule is so crazy. And I had a surprise. I didn't know Toya Ozan was a co-host.
Yeah,
so
my girl.
Yes. I haven't seen you in probably about a year. Right, Toya?
About a year. Yeah.
I think you're on mute.
Yeah, it's been about a year since I've seen you.
Yeah. Well, good to see you.
You too.
And Deborah, we see each other in the airports.
Yeah. Yeah. We running or going from plane to plane, whatever. I don't worry. I'm like, where you going? Where you coming from? Oh yes, that's good. So I want to let me go to my listener. Thank you guys for coming on tonight. Like I said earlier, we have Biguita Hernandez-Smith. She's running for city councilman at large. And so we're going to ask us a question, and I hope that you have your questions out where you can talk to Biguita, because we need to know. We need to hold them accountable for what they say, and we need to know what they're talking about. Okay, so if you have questions, go ahead and throw them out there, and I would throw them to Biguita as well. So, Biguita, first of all, I know a lot of people know you, but go ahead and introduce yourself again for somebody who don't know who you are.
Sure. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Biguita Hernandez-Smith. I am running for city council at large. I have been living in Beaumont for a total of 10 years, a place that has really blessed me and my family's lives in immeasurable ways. I ran, so for those who don't know, I ran for mayor about 2 years ago. And the reason why running for local office is so important to me is because I have done community development work. I'm from New York, so it started in New York and really all across our country. And it's important to me to be able to bring, for the last 20 years, that's my work. I am a community developer, economic developer, and workforce developer. And I've done that for the last 20 years with some really significant accomplishments. Let me take some time to talk to you about those. So if people are not familiar, the terms may sound complicated or sophisticated, but economic and workforce development is really being able to uplift our communities by providing the right training opportunities, the right jobs, and the right career paths for our residents. As we all know, if you are employed, if you're able to make a great wage, and if you're able to build your career, you're going to have a quality of life. You're going to have a more sustainable life where you can do things and you can have greater opportunities. The other piece of that is small business and large business, attracting the right businesses to communities and ensuring that our small businesses, the crux, the main part of our economy, really thrive, and giving them the right resources and the right tools to do so. In my work, I mentioned that I've been doing this for 20 years. I was able to help small businesses in New York get awarded $180 million in government contracts. $180 million. Just to put some measurement on that, that's half of our current city's budget. Because a lot of small businesses, they don't get the piece of the pie, the opportunities that our larger organizations do. So it's important to have an emphasis on small businesses, teach them what they need to know, fill in the gaps, give them the right resources and tools to be successful. And I did that work in New York City. I also worked in the Houston Gulf region, 13 counties, working with businesses to train them to be able to be great recruiters of the right people. 26,000 people we trained in Houston, 100,000 jobs across the nation. So I've been doing this work and been very successful with great teams that I've built myself all across the country. How we got to Beaumont was a real personal thing. I needed a better place as a single mom raising children in New York. I needed a better place to raise my children, and Beaumont was that place. So why not be in position to be able to contribute all of this great experience to a city that is growing and is a city that's in position to grow and really thrive.
So I heard you said that you ran for mayor a couple of years back, and we all know that. Yes. So what made you decide to run for councilman at large?
So quite honestly, I was thinking about it. I knew the elections were coming up. I was asked to run by two community leaders that I hold in high regard, that I have a lot of respect for, that I've seen work and have a great work ethic, that are authentic individuals, and asked me. They thought that it was important that, well, one of the things that they said was, we saw that you lost, and we saw that you didn't take your toys and go run away and hide. You still maintained your presence in the community. You still serve the community. And those are the kind of leaders that we want. And we would love for you to entertain running for city council at large. And I took some time to think about it, to pray about it. Like, Lord, is this where you want me to be? And here I am. Here I am running for city council at large. I want everyone to know that there are two positions. I run into a lot of people who don't know that. And when they get to the ballots, they really are planning to vote for one person, when in fact there are two positions. So just to explain the position, it's right. Very similar. So we have our mayor. Our mayor oversees and heads the city council, but our mayor cannot do that herself. So she needs two so she has two, currently Robin Mouton has two city council at large people that help her to oversee the entire city. Right. And then we have oversights distinctly in each ward so that we can have focus on the neighborhoods within each of those wards. So I just want all of our voters to know that you have 2 votes for city council and you have 4 votes total. So you're voting for a mayor, you're voting for 2 city council at large, and you are voting for your actual specific ward. So there's 4 votes in total for each individual voter.
Right.
That's important.
It's very important. Very important. That then they need to know that, because a lot of people do not vote for 2 at large. They vote for 1 and then they keep moving on. So thank you for bringing that.
And that's important, just because, I mean, Deborah, think about what struggles we have been through, some of us, in terms of just having the right to vote. Right. Why would you take any of your vote away? You exercise every vote and understand that you're utilizing your voice. So do not dilute your voting power.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you had something to say, Toya?
No, ma'am. She answered all of my questions, honestly.
She's really talking. And some of the questions I have on here, I was going to ask them, but I got to delete it.
Well, we could go, but I mean, I could put some more focus. I'm sorry. I'm very passionate about this race.
I know.
I've learned so much. Ladies, I've learned so much running for mayor. The 2 years after being connected to the community, meeting so many people, and I'm just really passionate about our city and making sure that we have genuine leadership in place. That's important.
I'm very passionate about Beaumont, Texas, because I've been here almost all my life. I've been here since I was 5 years old. So
yes.
I'm very passionate about, but I'm passionate about what's going on and what's going to happen to it or whatever, So, I look at a lot of stuff, what's going on here, what's going on there. Why can't we fix this? Who's to do this? So since I'm talking about that, Beaumont, we talk about a lot of infrastructure. So, infrastructure is most pressing here, the issue here in Beaumont. How would you address it when you get in office?
So infrastructure is extremely important. And I always want to relate all of the issues within our city of Beaumont, back to economics, right? Mm-hmm. We need to make sure, so infrastructure is important for existing quality of life. If I am in a neighborhood, I want to make sure that my roads are paved. I want to make sure that my ditches are right. I want to make sure that when we have natural disasters, which we do experience quite frequently, that every neighborhood is in position to not flood and to not lose what they've invested so much in. But then you take that to another level and a little bit of a different perspective, and you think about the fact that we want our city to thrive. We want our city to grow. So infrastructure plays such a big part in attracting people and businesses to our city, because we want to attract people, and people are looking at our neighborhoods, deciding to purchase homes, determining whether or not they want to live in certain neighborhoods based on infrastructure issues. So infrastructure is extremely important. What I want to say is that the priorities of our cities have varying priorities, and we need to be able to chew gum and walk at the same time. What's important to some people may not be as important to others. So infrastructure may be important to some residents, and infrastructure may not be as important to others. And that's why it is so important that we have experts or people who really understand the priorities of the city to be able to manage and focus on all of these different factors within the city. As far as infrastructure, it is a huge priority to our growth. And I believe, and this is my same stance that I had running for mayor, is that within a city's budget, we talked about this a lot as candidates, understanding the neighborhoods, understanding the areas, and it's not an equal divide. So it's not like we have an infrastructure budget and every area gets equal amount. That should not be it. There should always be an assessment and prioritize areas in terms of where they lie in terms of infrastructure needs. The other piece of this is if you are in line with city council meetings and you know what's currently happening, is that we're doing a lot of bandaging infrastructure. But in order to really be able to get it to where we need to get our infrastructure to, I'm talking about our roads, I'm talking about our pipes, I'm talking about all of it. It's the bones of our city. We need more money. Mm-hmm. And we need to be more creative in thinking about how we go about getting that money, whether it's through grants, whether it's through, we could be really creative and talk about, there's so many businesses who come here, and we talk about, okay, when they come here, we want to make sure that these businesses that come and utilize our resources, that they give our locals jobs. But how about we get really creative and talk about, you invest in our infrastructure? Because investing in us as a city, in addition to just jobs, is going to position that business to be very successful. So to answer your question, twofold. One is that we need to make sure that we understand the infrastructure needs of all of our different areas to be able to prioritize how we allocate the money. And two, we need to be more creative. And the answer can't be, we don't have the money, we can only do this. The answer has to be, we are looking at additional funding, creative funding, and resources to be able to increase our infrastructure budget to contribute it to where we need it to be.
I know you just came from a meeting in a community meeting, and that community where you just came from the meeting, I live in that community. I fuss all the time about infrastructure. I fuss about my dishes being full when it rains, and my toilets back up, and nothing has been done. So I don't know what's gonna happen, because I'm gonna keep fussing until it gets straight. Now they worked on 2 streets over, but then when they got to my street, they stopped working. And so I don't know, but I'm gonna keep fussing until something happens.
So Deborah, what's the response? What is being said when
they will send someone out here, and of course when they're sending out here, the ditches are already full. So they look at down the manhole and they'll say, you have water in there. So duh, you never come out here for that. I know that. And they don't come back. So I don't know. But I fuss about infrastructure all the time. I fuss about this, this water. And I live by a canal. So the canal flood, it overflows from the canal, from down the street, because I live on the corner block, and then everything comes towards my way. So that's what they tell me. And
so how long has that been an issue?
Over 10 years.
Over 10 years. That's a significant problem. That's why when you think about an entire council, we need to be able to divide and conquer to ensure that those kind of issues that are happening consistently over a 10-year span get solved. But we need to be able to divide and conquer in terms of what our expertise is, what is our specialty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm going to keep fussing until something is done.
Well, I'll take care of it as soon as I get there.
When you get there. Okay. So
and let me caveat, because people will hold. I can't promise, but what I will say is that let's look at what has been done and what can we do differently.
Right. Understood. So what are your goals to pursue in the first 30 days in office? I know that this office only allows you to be in there 2 years, then you got to rerun, then you got to run again. And for the first 30 days or 90 days, what are you planning on doing? What's your goals for that?
So I want to touch on what you said in terms of the 2 years. So that's important. We just talked from the last meeting at Rosedale Church about the fact that it's so important to make sure that we have term limits. So getting really creative, because really, you're in position, you're learning a lot of the processes and systems, how to go about the work the first year. And then when you get into year 2, you have 6 months, and then you're campaigning for the next run. So term limits, I think, are really important, both in terms of making sure that people have the right time to be able to accomplish and make impact, but also making sure that we don't have people that are in there over, 20 years, 15 years. I think there needs to be progression. There needs to be growth. We need to be able to pass the baton and be able to give people who are interested, who have new perspective, we want to be able to give them position while we continue to grow onto new levels. So that's just my stance on term limits. As far as 30 days, ladies, it's very important. All the work that I have done has been based on leading with regards to listening and to be able to build relationships. That's how we make our world go round. So in that first 30 days, it's important for me internally to understand how the departments are run and be able to build relationships with the directors of each department of the city, and to build significant commonality and a firm foundation with the council, whoever that will be. That is important, because at the end of the day, we're going to work with each other, and we will not sit on the same page with each other every single time. Exactly. But at least we have established the respect to treat each other like professionals that are there to do the right thing. That is so important. And then the other piece of that, so internally we want to make sure, because how can we serve without making sure that internally the house is in position, has a foundation, and can be taken care of. And then My goal is to speak to the city. I want to speak to the individuals in each area of the city to understand their needs. I've done this work and I talked to you about my experience, but my experience in other cities may not be the experience in this city.
Right.
And being able to help other cities for the most part is because I was able to listen to what their need is. I can talk to you about what my vision is or what I think Beaumont needs, but
Mhm.
it's only individuals within certain neighborhoods that can tell me what it is that they need, what it is that they want, what do they want to see in leadership, what do they want to see in their quality of life. So to answer your question twofold, first, to be able to build the relationships and respect within the city internally. And then secondly, I want to be able to be up close and personal, not in the ivory tower of the city council of Main Street, of City Hall, but to be, my thing is, and you've seen me, Deborah, in the
Mhm.
trenches with the people. I want the people to know that they can come to me, they can speak to me about anything, they can ask me about anything. I am completely approachable.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is your number one challenge in facing the next board when the next board come up? What's the number one challenge facing the next board when it comes to management of the department and working with the city council?
I don't see this as a challenge, but it's important. I see it as a priority.
Mm-hmm.
In my experience, I have been one to be a leader that really has been able to unify people with different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have people with, and we can be very explicit about it. We have people of different parties. We have people of different values. We have people of different experiences. And I have been very successful with being able to bridge that gap. And the answer to that is not that everybody makes the same decision, that everybody gets on the same page. It's more about let's listen and let's try to understand or be empathetic to a perspective. The more that we can listen, the more that we can understand why that person believes what they believe. So I think that that would be the priority, the challenge of being able to work with a city council to unify. And it's not only to unify on the surface, okay, I understand. Oh, that's why you believe in that, because you were raised this way, or you had this experience, or you went to this schooling, or your expertise is in this area. That's why. Just an understanding this way, instead of when people decide to vote or they have their certain opinion, you can sit back and not attack, but understand where they're coming from and
Right.
respectfully disagree.
Right.
That's a big priority. People
On the,
working together.
on the bottom line, we agree to disagree. So
Yes, we agree to disagree, but
yeah.
I can understand why you're coming from that perspective.
Right, exactly. Let me get to my viewers. I have a question that's out here, and it's Captain Wingate says, a 2-year term is not long enough for anyone. How can the city of Beaumont change the elected officials' time in office to a 4-year term?
So I believe that there is, in the last meeting that I went to, I believe that I'm sorry.
I was just thinking, Kathy.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. I believe so. It was spoken that this is being worked on right now. Apparently there's some type of proclamation or change, and I don't know that it's 4 years. I think what they're trying to do is, I think they're trying to do 3 years. So I believe the city council themselves have to vote on changing term limits. But Kathy, I agree with you. I think that it should be, whether it's 3 years or 4 years, I think it should be longer, but I think that there also should be a cap. And so in this last meeting, we talked about there being a cap for each position. So let's just say if you started at a ward position, you can have 2 terms, let's say 2 3-year terms. And then you can run for an at-large position where you'd have 2 terms, and then ultimately a mayor position where you have 2 terms, to not exceed those years. And then you gravitate on to the next level if you choose to do so in your political career. But it's important just to make sure that the system keeps on churning and new ideas are brought to the table. And growth. It's about development and growth.
Right. Let me see, Toya, you good?
I did have a question, Biguita. Like when you have your committees, are you going to put younger people on there to give you different perspectives on what we need as a community?
Absolutely. That is my intention. Yes. And a lot of people will assume that younger people are not interested, but I've met a great group of younger people, diverse younger people who really are interested. They're interested in being groomed to be city leaders in the future, and interested in what happens to this city. So absolutely. And I think it's important not only to include younger people, but people of different areas, like different neighborhoods of areas, different wards, different ethnicities, and different like professional backgrounds.
You know, we're not too old to be on the on the committees either.
Deborah, what committee would you pick?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet. I don't think about it. So I have to look at the committees that that they have and say, you know what, I would love to be on that committee.
Yeah,
I would to have groomed that committee.
I think one of the things. So I'm on the community development committee, and we were a really great group, which we had a bigger vision. The Community Development Committee was planned to take some funding called Community Block Grant Funding and assess kind of what nonprofits in our city should have that funding. And the thing is that that's a great opportunity, and we did that. But I think that even in addition to city council members, we have 7. We wanted to be tentacles in the city, right? And bring back the information, because you can never get enough information. So that's what we did as a community development committee. Speak to people, speak to residents, speak to businesses, speak to nonprofits, and get those understandings and bring it back to council. I think
that sounds good.
And it runs the gamut, right? Like when I think of you, what we have in common is we love to dance, right? We love music. We love to dance. It brings a community together. It unifies a community. So being able to do more things like that, where people can come together under the language of music and dance, is very, very powerful. It's simple, but it's extremely powerful, because I think it speaks to everyone's soul. So I think you would be great on a committee like that.
I ain't call my name, baby. Kathy Wingate also says my son would definitely be a good person. Well, I guess one of your
Kathy. I didn't know it was Kathy Wingate. Absolutely, DeAndre would be a fantastic person. Mm-hmm. Yes,
exactly.
And congratulations to him. Congratulations! I'm so happy with all of the new developments that are happening with him. He is driven, and I love to speak to him because of his energy, and he's going to find an opportunity. He's going to find that diamond in the rough, even though, people tell him no or doors are closed. And yes, we do need him on that. Yeah. If he's interested. Is he interested, Kathy?
She'll answer in a minute. He probably is, because he like you say, he's a go-getter, and he's
a go-getter.
His interest is very high. And she said, thanks, Biguita. But she said, Kathy, she wants to know, is he interested? So she'll answer that in a minute. So do you think downtown Main Street, anything like that, is healthy and successful? If so, if not, what would you do to change that?
You mean downtown, the downtown area? Is it? Well, okay. So there was a decision to purchase the AT&T building. Do you guys remember that?
Yes.
And my first question was, what is the plan? Mm-hmm. We have to be able to have a plan, and not only we're gonna get our feet wet in economic development. We need to have a complete plan, and it can't only be the purchase of one building. Right. But I say all that to say I was not in agreement with the purchase of that building. Why? Because I didn't see a plan, and also I think it's questionable, in my experience, to have city government purchase buildings. City government's role, municipalities' role, is really to be able to attract developers to purchase. We shouldn't be in the business of purchasing and taking away from our budget, because we have to sustain that building, and that building is now our responsibility, versus doing the work that we need to do to attract developers, whether they're local or out of state or out of the city, to purchase these buildings and build up downtown. So I
Right.
think that the downtown economic development plan needs to be a cohesive plan. It needs to be a plan of what's the phases, 3-year, 5-year, 10-year, 20-year, because this stuff takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. And we need to be able to put our minds together to have several projects in place at one time. We want to focus on these buildings, right? Let's just say we want to focus on these 5 buildings because we believe this one could bring in a hotel. This one could bring in residential. This can be a restaurant. This can be, I don't know, let's just say a cleaners. How do we go about getting those individuals? How do we do our research to understand what developers and what investors out there will be able to invest in that kind of project? But it has to be multi-scaled.
Mhm. Yes.
Did
Toya,
I
you said
answer?
yes.
Okay.
I do have a question. I know you well enough, Biguita, to know that you're very opinionated and you speak your mind.
I do.
So, with
Yes.
that being said, a lot of people are tiptoeing around. Like I was just out there block walking, talking to people, registering them to vote, and a lot of people goes back to things that are going on with the police department. If no one on board, if no one on the board feels that they're not doing anything wrong, and you know that they are, and you have people coming to you saying that, hey, I was harassed, they're not writing them up. Would you speak up for those people? Would you go against what everyone else is saying and do what's right?
Toya, yes, that's why I'm here. So that's why I'm here. Like this is why leaders must be genuine, and it is a very narrow road if you are a true leader. Oftentimes I have been alone in my decisions. Oftentimes I have been alone. I have been kicked out of rooms for my decisions, but at the end of the day, I'm going to go spiritual on you. At the end of the day, I don't know what happened. At the end of the day, I have to answer to my Lord about the work that I've done. He's going to say to me, good job or not so good job, good and faithful servant. So
You're
in
right.
this position, I am a servant of the people. Let's not get it twisted. It is not for my own aspirations. It is not for anything else but to be able to represent the people. And yes, and that's a hard road, Toya, because we know that it feels much better to be part of the group where everybody agrees with.
Right.
But if I'm positioned to truly represent the people, I have to be bold and I have to be daring and I have to call out things that the majority of people won't call out. Period. End of story. I have to.
I don't know. I don't know if this question would deal with the city councilman or the school district or what, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. And you can voice on it or whatever. But
Sure.
I am very dear to school districts and school shooting. So school shooting has parents and school districts, law enforcement agency looking for ways to ensure schools as all to be safe, always safe. What plans do you have when it comes to school safety, and what policy would you enact and why? So I don't know if you deal with
So
the
I
city.
can't enact any policies from the seat. However, please, it is important that we utilize our platforms the way we need to utilize them. And it doesn't necessarily have to be based on the job description. So just because my platform is to be a city councilwoman at large doesn't mean that my focus only has to be within those realms. I intend to utilize my platform to be able to better understand the challenges of the school district, to help, to be able to share knowledge, to be able to share opinions that come to me just like yours with the school district. I think that we need to work hands in hand. We all have our expertise, but I know that the school district and the city council currently meet. What I don't know is that if there are goals set by each entity, because I think what would be a great idea is it's one. I mean, we can meet all day long, but what is it? I can say from my perspective as city councilwoman, of the city of Beaumont at large, I have a lot of constituents that are concerned with safety in our schools. And so so when we meet, it is my goal, trustees at the school board, to be able to have some type of policy, right? For you guys to enact a policy that will make parents feel better about sending their kids to public school. I'm utilizing my platform because I know that on my platform, I'm going to be better responded to. We know this, right? So I need to be able to utilize it to get certain things done. But I won't be able to change a policy directly. But I can definitely influence that policy.
Right.
I believe. And I will utilize my platform to do that. And that is a big deal.
Yes.
Like that is a big deal, ensuring that her kids are safe in school. I mean, who would have thought 20 years ago that would be more than that, 30 years ago, when I was, no, more than that, 40 years ago, I'm sure my age, but 40 years ago, like that our young people in elementary school are safe. Who would have thought that would have been a concern for our parents? I'm sure that BISD is speaking about this very consistently. I just would like to be able to understand it better and help with some policies. Why not?
Yeah. I mean,
one of the things
that's so dear to me, because I put that question out a lot of times about our district and the safety of the children, not only the children, the teachers as well, the administrators as well.
The administrators as well. And I have 4 grandchildren, 4, 5, 6, and 7, that are in the school district right now. And of course, you're concerned. The one thing that comes to mind that you see that has been a gap in other school shootings is that while there's policies, is there oversight of the policy? We saw several school shootings where there was supposed to be doors locked that weren't. It was a mistake. Someone went out for a break in Uvalde. Somebody went out for a break and the door, I think they put like some type of stopper in the door. Like, are we going around and overseeing our schools to make sure that those policies that we put in place are being adhered to?
Now, I will say this about that part. I believe that Beaumont PD and also BISD, they did a wonderful job last time when it was a big thing at Beaumont Early College. So I do feel safe for the most part at most of the schools because, they do lock the door. They don't just let anyone come in. So I can say that about Beaumont. Yeah, so I think that they'll just go in. You won't have police officers just sitting outside waiting like we've seen in other instances.
But and yeah, definitely. And I just think that the more oversight, the better. We're just making sure. We're going to every campus, making sure whether we do like some type of drill, maybe on a monthly basis, to ensure that those protocols are put in place. But again, I think we utilize our platform for the greater good. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the job description.
Right. Exactly. So what's more important for our city right now, you think? Is it building new homes and commercial space, or rehabbing, expanding, better utilizing our existing homes and storefronts? What do you think is more important?
Are you saying building new or
new
building
homes
or enhancing existing? I think it's both. I go back to as a city, we need to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time, and we need to be able to utilize our experiences to be able to do so. I am a proponent. So in terms of taking care of what's existing, how are we going to build on broken ground? How are we going to build on something that doesn't have a good sturdy foundation? That probably is the priority. But the thing is, Deborah, is that there's so much focus that's put into that we could lose a whole bunch of years in not building up. So I think we need to be creative and being able to do these things simultaneously. And I think it is very, very possible by, again, utilizing city council, understanding where people have focus, and then utilizing committees like the Community Development Committee to have tentacles out there helping us, feet on the ground, helping us. But I do think that both of those are priorities. I'll tell you why. One, the priority of enhancing existing. We want our people who have devoted their lives and their family lives to be able to live quality of life. We want them to be able to live in homes that they're proud of, to be able to walk down streets that they're proud of, neighborhoods that they have a quality of life. But we also have to understand that if we don't grow, if we don't attract new business, if we don't do new and innovative things in our city's population will not grow because we have nothing to attract it to. So we need to be able to do these things simultaneously.
So, how you really almost answered this question. So, if someone came to you with a proposal to build a new piece of built public infrastructure in our city, or road, bridge, or whatever, how would you see that project going forth or implementing what it's worth?
Like an infrastructure project. So we talked about the fact that we don't have the budget that we need to really do the overhaul of all of our infrastructure. But I think what I would do is I would assess the projects that are happening now and determine, and the thing is that I'm not an expert in infrastructure. So I would utilize our city resources in those departments to say, okay, this is it. Let's look at the current projects and the current monies that are being allocated to infrastructure, and let's weigh out this new project and see if it surpasses those priorities. Right? Like, what is the impact of this new project going to be? And what's the impact that it's going to have right now? And what's the impact that it's going to have in the future? And we have to be able to weigh and assess what the better decision is. While I will emphasize, while we are creative and really being able to build the budget and increase increase revenue, one, and being creative in how we get more money to do infrastructure the right way.
The right way.
I want to ask a question about businesses. Being a woman, do you think it's more difficult for women to start their businesses than it is for men? And if so, what would you do to change that?
So when I talked earlier, Toya, about the $180 million awarded to businesses, those were specifically women-owned businesses and small businesses. Okay. And the reason why is because, yes, it is a challenge in our country for our women-owned businesses to be successful. There's a lot of factors to that. I think that oftentimes our small businesses or our women-owned businesses, we get to be very passionate about a product. I really want to sell this. I'll take my business, right? One of my businesses. So you ladies know that we started a new business this year called Big Empanadas. And I was passionate about the empanadas because I wanted to bring a new kind of culture and a new cuisine to our city. But I can't just stay in that passion. I have to know how to operate the business. I have to know how much it costs me to make an empanada. What kind of overhead expenses do I have? How do I go about marketing this business? How do I go about, if I wanted to entertain hiring someone for the business, how much time is it going to take for my given week? All those things that allow you to be successful in a business. I think that a lot of times we go on whims, right? And we're so passionate. We want to be an entrepreneur that we forget to educate ourselves on how to actually operate a business. And I emphasize this with the finances. How do we operate? How do we manage our finances? Because it's your finances or lack thereof that's going to get your business closed, right? If we don't understand how much we can afford, how much can I afford in a restaurant that in a location that I choose to rent? How much can I afford? And what is my profit margin to make sure that I can afford this and make sure it makes sense for me to stay in business? So I say all that to say, I do think it is more challenging for women, but I do think that there's also so many resources out there that we as economic developers need to make sure our businesses know of. So that's one of the pieces that is part of my platform, Toya, is that we conduct assessments of our small businesses here in Beaumont to understand where the gap is so that we don't get to a point where we see businesses close, that we help them to thrive. We say, oh, this is what's wrong with your business. You don't have a consistent marketing plan. That's why. People don't know about your business, but we need to be able to bring those resources together to understand where our businesses are currently at. It's not, please make no mistake, it's not about how many permits we approve. Doesn't matter. If that business is not going to last, it doesn't matter how many businesses are created. We need to also invest in making sure our businesses are successful. And as far as a woman, my experience, I've worked with a lot of women and a lot of women entrepreneurs. And I think that we need to do a better job at self-love and knowing our worth and knowing that we can do it. I think that women business owners have a lot of doubt. I've experienced that. They have a lot of doubt in themselves, whether or not I'm going to be successful. And also a lot of women business owners are single moms, are moms, and juggling those responsibilities is a challenge.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, I was a single mom, and at the end of the day, I really could not, I had a business, but I couldn't really pour myself into it because at the end of the day, it was about making sure that I had a roof over my head and making sure my kids were taken care of and ate every day and got to school and so on. So it's a hard balance. You can't jump ship on that when you're taking care, when you're sole provider, you're taking care of your family. So my experience with women-owned business is that the approach is different. Because the approach is different. Can they be as successful? Absolutely. Are there resources out there? Absolutely. But the approach is just a different one.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. If you could change. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I wanted to tell you, can you please make is it empanadas? Am I saying it correctly? We need some that's for vegetarians. Just throwing that out there.
Give me your ideas, because I had a request for vegans.
Yes.
Which is different than vegetarians.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I didn't even know you were a vegetarian. So what would be intriguing to you? What would sound good?
Shrimp, or you can just do one with vegetables.
Okay, because we have a shrimp and crawfish. Do you eat crawfish?
Mm-mm.
You don't eat crawfish. Okay, so we do have a shrimp and crawfish one, and then we don't have a vegetable because we didn't get a lot of it. Well, and the thing is that there could be a very big market for it, and they just haven't asked for it.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking of like a corn black bean salsa kind of thing.
That would be good.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's for her.
No, because we went to what's the name of that restaurant? 5 and Under, and I wanted to purchase some, but they didn't have that option for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, that's for her.
Deborah, did you taste them?
No, I'm a diabetic, so I'm scared. Yeah. So I'm scared to eat a lot of food. So
a lot of it's pretty rich. I mean, we try to be mindful of that.
Mm-hmm.
How much salt we're putting in, because this is a Puerto Rican delicacy.
Right.
Puerto Ricans tend to season their food very, very much.
Very, very much.
I try to use the same spices and stuff, but not go crazy.
Yeah. So, Jones can't eat that.
No,
let me ask you one question. If you could change one thing in our zoning code, what would it be and why? Good question.
One thing in our zoning code, to be able to entertain exceptions. I don't think that everything has to be. It's important to have structure, but I think that we need to be able to understand certain circumstances and be more open. Be more open to individual to certain types of circumstances that may be different than what we know, right? Like we have to be able to adjust to new innovations, to new ways of living. We have to be at least to be able to be open to it.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Have you had? Do you have any endorsements? If any, if you do, which endorsements have you received?
I have not received any endorsements, and I am fine with that. The political world, the political arena, for the most part, is that you get endorsements from unions and from the fire department, police department. For the most part, incumbents.
Mm-hmm.
Incumbents, and I'm not an incumbent, so it doesn't sway me here or there. My thing is this: I want to be able to speak to as many people as I can. The more that I can speak to, black, white, brown, yellow, Democrat, Republican, the more I can be able to get them to understand, first of all, that I'm going to do the right thing. Second of
Right.
all, that I can sit and listen to your experience and your perspective. And I am not swayed in one way or the other. I'm always going to do what I believe is the right thing. And for me to get the people's endorsement is my goal.
Mm-hmm.
It's the people's endorsement.
How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process in Beaumont, Texas?
Well, first off, I think that it is absolutely baffling to me that the city council meeting is at 1:30 in the afternoon. We talk about this so much.
Mm-hmm.
That is not an opportune time for anybody to go and understand what's happening in the city.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we need to look at that again. I think that we need to do more than just have one evening city council meeting per quarter. Per quarter? If we decide to, and so maybe it's a monthly, but maybe in that monthly evening meeting, we give a summary or a snapshot of where we are at the city, right? Because when we go to city council meetings, there's a certain agenda. But perhaps we can adjust the evening meeting agenda to be able to catch people up. This is a this is a snapshot of what's happening in the city in the last 6 months, and this is what we're going to speak on today, so that people can, so that there's opportunity. And also, I don't know if you both remember, but when I was running for mayor, I did Coffee with B.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And Coffee with B was just an opportunity to summarize and to speak in very simple terms about what's going on. And I think that's needed as well. Because, in the city or even in professions, you have certain lingo that people are not familiar with. So just make it as simple as possible and summarize at opportune times. I'd love to be able to do that again. It was a lot of work, but I was a candidate. It's one thing to be a candidate, and it's another thing to be in an elected position and be able to summarize exactly what's happening. So to answer your question twofold: one, to make it a simpler and simpler language so that we want our people to be interested. So let's make them interested by getting them to understand what's happening in a simple way. And two, if let's be purposeful in our evening meetings so that we do a snapshot. It's just not a little piece of the agenda. It's in a snapshot so that if I attend a meeting every month or every 3 months, I know that, I'm going to get a little summary of what's happening in the city. And so now I have an understanding.
I understand. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I really have to I really need to understand why it's at 1:30. It's not even at a lunch break. Like, that's not the traditional lunch break. The traditional lunch is 12 o'clock.
Right.
So a person could run in during lunch. Like, why 1:30? And perhaps I'll never understand, but I don't think that it does anybody. I don't think it does the majority of our city good.
I agree.
Biguita, we have 5 people running for city councilman. Count them, 5. What distinguishes you from the other candidates?
My experience. I believe that experience speaks volumes, and my accomplishments. So when I talk about the work, I can say I'm an economic developer all day long, but I can actually have the accomplishments to attach to that. $180 million for small businesses for government contracts. I've brought 100,000 jobs to cities across our United States. I have helped 10,000 small businesses across our United States be in position to grow and create new jobs. I have helped educate 26,000 businesses in the Houston Gulf region to be better at hiring the right people. These are significant accomplishments based on significant experience. So when we have to make decisions like when a new business comes in, what kind of tax, they have a certain tax incentive. How many jobs are they going to bring? I have an understanding of whether or not that's enough jobs, right?
Mhm.
Because I have a background to attach it to. I have a reference because I've done this work before. I know what has worked. I know what hasn't worked. I know how to negotiate with large organizations to be able to say, you're coming in here utilizing our resources and you're promising us 25 jobs. Doesn't seem like enough. This is our workforce pipeline. These are how many people are going to be qualified for the jobs. Why aren't we getting more jobs? Because I've been in the rooms, I've been at the table before. And that's the expertise that I have that nobody else has. And the other piece of this is a woman's perspective. And you will hear me time and time again say in my career, I have never raised my hand and said, hire me, choose me because I'm a woman. No, it was about my work ethic and my work product, my education. However, it is very significant that we only have one woman as part of our entire city council. We need to be able to have a more diverse council that reflects the actual community we serve. And a woman's perspective, as we know, ladies, is a different perspective. I'm not saying it's a better perspective. I'm saying that a man and a woman coming together with different perspectives can really do some excellent work. And I am the only woman in that race. Well, the only woman in that race and the only woman running for a council position.
Right. Yeah. Because the other was running for mayor. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Okay.
have two questions. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I was going to get ready to ask you.
Okay. One question is, in the event that you do not win, are you still going to do what you've been doing these past 2-3 years?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And then my next,
And let me, just because I believe that a leader can lead from anywhere.
Yeah.
We can influence from anywhere. Running for mayor allowed me so many more relationships, allowed people to get to know me, and then I continued on. The reason why I am running for an elected position is because I have the expertise to really do a great job in that position and to really contribute to votes for bigger things. I will continue the work that I'm doing, Toya, but make no mistake that I still won't be able to vote on really big decisions concerning our city. So no, I won't go away, because my thing is that if you love a city and you're here, and if you say you love a city and you're here and you're rooted here, by all means, you need to be able to lead in some sort of way. So no, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
okay. And my next question was, you're talking about working with BISD as a parent and as a believer. Would you talk about maybe implementing prayer back into school? Is that important to you?
That's a really good question. And yes, it is important to me. It
That's
is
great.
important to me. It is important to me as the individual,
Yeah.
because I am a believer. And I know that there is not one step that I take that I don't ask God, where is it that you want me to be? I want to be within your plan. It's a hard, as we know, it's a hard topic, because everyone is not a believer.
Right.
But as a school district, you want to be able, just because we're believers and some people are not, we still are there to serve their children.
Yeah.
So personally, I think it definitely belongs there. Do I believe that that's going to be something that is won? I don't know, because look at the world that we live in.
Yeah. Exactly. It took prayer out of school and put guns in there. So
But not only that, it took one atheist. It was an atheist that
right.
took it out.
About.
So I'm like, if it took an atheist to take it out, as believers, we should be able to put it back in. That's just my opinion.
No. We should be able to, but this is the thing, right? The Lord said we're going to in this world is going to be a spiritual battle of good and evil,
Oh,
period.
yeah.
Right? And we're ultimately, we will have the victory, but we still are going to have those fights and those trials and those battles. And so I can't say that we're definitely going to win, but I will say that as believers, we should always take the very high road in terms of making sure that even non-believers are served by us.
Yeah.
And we lead by
True.
example to our non-believers.
Yeah. Agree.
Dolores Clark says you may be the best candidate, but how do you get the people to go out and vote? Very good question.
Wonderful question. Wonderful question. By showing the people, thank you, Dolores, by getting the people to understand that how the local election impacts them personally. That's important. I think that a lot of our elections, local, I think the local one, it gets very, very ugly.
Yeah.
It's like the smaller the election, it gets very ugly because people, I just feel like there's so much ego in it. And what we need to do is get people to understand how it affects your life. Simple as that.
Yeah.
There's so much more turnout for presidential elections, right? But getting people to understand this affects your everyday life, your purchase of a home, your taxes, your water, your roads, all of this stuff, your everyday life and the lives of your children and the lives of your grandchildren. We're doing this, this is personal to you. And the more people that you can speak to, the more people that get it, because you'd be surprised, a lot of people don't know what city council does and what they see. So getting people to understand it impacts you personally, I believe, gets people out there to vote. And I also believe getting people to connecting with people on a real human level gives them hope in the fact that there's authentic leadership out there, authentic politicians out there, authentic people who want to lead a city, right? You got to be able to connect with the person and we need more hope. A lot of people have lost hope because they see that a lot of politicians run for their own gain, their own aspirations.
Right.
But when you speak to a person, you can feel the passion, you can feel that they truly want the best for you, then you're giving hope to people. And I'm going to go out and vote because I believe in it again. But we got to get people to believe.
Yeah. Well, the clock on the wall says we have to get out of here. But Tori, you had another question?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so it says we have to get out of here. But before we leave, Captain Wingate says, yes, he is interested. He has so many ideas for this city, DeAndre.
I know.
So, yeah, I know it too. So,
and big ones.
Big ideas.
Big ones.
Yeah. Let me go over early voting again. Early voting is April 24th through 2023 through May the 2nd. Election day is May 6th. So the polls that will be open for early voting will be Rogers Park, Jefferson County Courthouse, John Paul Davis, and Theodore Jones Library. Those are for early voting. The next for voting day on May 6th, election day, they all will be open. So let's get out there and vote. If you know somebody that needs to vote, pick them up. I mean, give them a ride.
Yeah, and how many votes? Please do not let any vote go to waste. We have 4 votes.
Yeah.
1 for mayor, 2 for city council at large, and 1 for your ward. Do not let any of those votes go to waste. And truly, guys, we're in a place where we could really get to the next level of our city, and we need to pick the right people that represent us and what's important to us. It's not about friendship. It's not about popularity. It's not about who makes you feel good. It's about who truly you believe is genuine, going to do the right thing and represent your values.
Yeah, and I'm trying my best to bring all of them on my platforms so that you can hear them and you can see them, see who you're voting for, hear what they have to say, hear what their platform is, and so that you can make your decision on who to vote for. Like Biguita said, please do not vote on their personality, or don't vote on that's my friend. I've been knowing that person for a long time. Friendship. whatever, vote because they got something to go for, and make sure you hold them accountable for what they saying to us. Because
That's
if you
right.
don't hold them accountable, that it's just like water that it's gonna just dry out. So y'all, come on, let's get out there and vote tomorrow night. I will be on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. I said I'm gonna be on Friday night, but I'm gonna go salsa. Do some dancing.
Where you going to salsa?
I'm going with Gordon at the.
Oh, I didn't even know he has another event. He's going to be at Cotton Creek.
Yeah, on the 14th.
Save me a dance. Save me a dance.
I've been promising.
Come dance with us.
Who you talking to, Toya?
I'm talking to Toya. Come dance with us.
Biguita, I cannot dance.
Come on. I'll teach you.
Okay, next time I come home, I'm gonna come.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
So tomorrow night I will have Michael Cooper on. He's also a candidate for city councilman. And then Wednesday I will have on AJ Turner. So look now tomorrow night I'll be on at 6:30. So let's go 6:30, and then Wednesday night I'll be on 6:30. So this was just special, because something was going on. And so let's get on this. Let's come back on tomorrow night and listen to Michael Cooper, who's also running against Biguita Hernandez-Smith and AJ Turner as well. So with that being said, I got a lot to put on. I have to put the mayors on. I have to put BISD board.
Yep.
So you're making me. And so I'm trying to do all this before the 24th. Now, some of them might be on after the 24th, but I'm going to try to do my best. I started late. Something was going on in my life, so I started late, but I started. That's the main thing.
Exactly. And thank you, ladies, both for the platform to be able to share. Thank you so much. Thank you for being flexible. And everyone out there, if you have any questions related to me, you can message me on Facebook. So I have a personal page, Biguita Hernandez-Smith. I also have a campaign page, Biguita Hernandez-Smith for Council at Large. You can call me 409-500-2640. Or you can go on my website, votebiguita.com. But in any way, please know, if you have any lingering question that you did not ask today, I am here. You can approach me with anything.
She would answer you. She will answer. I promise you.
And I ask for your vote. I do ask for your vote. One of the two, yes.
Yes. Thank you, Biguita, for coming on tonight. And I really appreciate you. And thank you for getting me started.
Yes, kick it off strong. Yes. Kick it off big. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. And guys, let's vote. We got to get out there and vote.
Yes.
So with that being said, thank you, audience, thank you, viewers, for coming on tonight. I appreciate you guys. And tomorrow night, tell everybody that we'll be on tomorrow night with Michael Cooper. Okay? God bless you, and God keep you in my prayer. As if I can help somebody as I pass along this way, then you know that my living is not in vain. Smooches. Bye.